Ah, we've come full circle. You guys remember Far Cry 2? Had like the best fire propagation at the time. It was really cool. It was built on the Dunya engine, which was based on the Cry engine, which is funny because now Star Engine is also based on the Cry engine and seems to be doing something cool with fire. So CIG just released a new update on their fire propagation system, which will allow for new hazards to pop up on bigger ships and make the interiors of ships catch on fire. They haven't gotten around to planets and moons or even the player character yet. And why haven't they?
Tech.
Of course it's tech. And being able to fight these fires is something anybody on the ship can do, but probably best for the person who's running around repairing components and fixing fuses and managing the power of your ships. This is why it's probably going to be something that's more related to larger ships with multiple people rather than your small ship where you don't have any sort of interior. That being said, you should still keep your ship performing pretty well or else fires might break out. We'll talk about that later. This system started development back in 2020 as far as I know. That's the earliest reference I could find. And they gave us a whole bunch of different peeks at the process of making it. Starting with this 600 ion fire with obviously not great VFX, they were focused mostly on how the fire would spread and which materials it would catch on. And we saw year after year as this slowly got updated alongside the engineering system that they've also been building. That's because they're tied together like this. Like that. Super close. These things are like really closely related, mainly because life support can be used to put the fires out, but also because this depends on the room system. So one of the examples they showed us showed how smoke would move through the vents in a ship to another room. And this is all based on the idea that rooms share atmospheres and can be closed off when you shut doors. Obviously, that has to do with the engineering system. Now it's interesting because I only found references to this in the last 5 years, which does make it a newer feature in terms of Star Citizen's development, which a lot of players don't like. That kind of falls in the area of feature creep for some people. That being said, the hazardous nature of traveling through space has been a huge focus for Star Citizen. From the water that you need to find, the fuel that can be a limited resource, oxygen with the life support system, obviously these fires, we'll even be able to control gravity with the new engineering system. So the idea of having to keep your ship safe and also functional is becoming a lot more in your face now, even though it's been planned back from like 2013, 2015. And now that life support and engineering are scheduled at least for 4.0, we're seeing things like fire also start to become a thing that you have to pay attention to. And I did mention fuel and water there. Part of the salvage gameplay we're going to have is going to be siphoning out fuel and water from other ships once you find them derelict, or maybe not so much. That'd be piracy. Now the fire system itself runs on a system of fuel, oxygen, and heat. So you have multiple ways of mitigating or even completely removing the risk of fire. If you didn't want anything to be able to catch on fire, technically you could vent your entire ship and just fly around with a no atmosphere ship, and the fire can't really burn. At the same time, you could let a fire burn itself out by just consuming the whole room and obviously removing the fuel that it's using to burn, which would be like the walls and the cables and the pipes and all that kind of stuff. And finally, of course, if you keep your ship very cool, we do have temperature control over our ships using the life support system. That also helps to mitigate fires. Now, fires can spontaneously break out, but they have to reach like a realistic temperature to just photocombust, which is kind of insane. That can't even happen in the game right now, so I wouldn't worry about that. But the idea of a fire restarting because you put the fire out and it's still too hot in that area, that can happen. So even if you're putting a fire out, if you leave that area too hot, it could start back up when you turn your back. And finally, that also means it can affect you. While the fire can't catch onto the character right now because of
tech,
it can eliminate all the oxygen in the room, which could make you suffocate. It can also make the room overheat, which obviously causes problems for the human body anyways. So there are some complications to fire besides just the fact that it burns. And this fire can come from damage that's applied to your ship. It can come from you not taking care of your components or your ship overall. I've never had a car catch on fire from not repairing it, but I haven't also been riding my car into combat very often, so you know. And then different materials can catch on fire at different temperatures. So obviously metal doesn't catch on fire all that much, but the stuff behind it, the insulation, possibly the cushioning that they have in a lot of the Aegis ships, those types of things can catch on fire, get hot enough to eventually spread to metals. And all of it's gamified anyways. Like, it's not going to be scientifically accurate at every point. They're going to make things catch on fire because that creates more of a challenge for engineers and large crews on ships. Just going to have to go with it at times. Like I said, this is only applied to the insides of ships so far, but I cannot wait to see how this works on planets and moons when you're burning bushes and trees and decimating whole forests to make some room for your grazing cows. 21st century style. Overall, I could probably see a lot of people not seeing this as very necessary, and I'd be happy to know what you guys think, specifically if you're looking at bigger ships. Again, I think that smaller ships aren't really going to be as affected by this unless you're really not taking care of your ship, which probably goes for engineering overall. But for those bigger ships, this seems like it's part of what they want to build as natural risk for running a big ship and doing a lot with it. A lot of moving parts, industrial lasers, refineries, and different components running at all times. It reminds me kind of FTL, which is a fun game that focuses more on the engineering nature of space travel, and a combination with Sea of Thieves, which again is a game where you do have to balance the idea of damage to your ship with the damage you're putting out to other people's ship, at least in terms of combat. So if you're not getting as much into combat, I don't think something like this or engineering are going to be super in your face and demanding your attention immediately. It's more the kind of general upkeep kind of thing. Go to the station, get a little repair, make sure things are up to snuff. And it's even better now because we should be able to take care of those things without going back to a space station. We're going to have to see how they balance these things out and make sure it's still a fun experience and not too tedious, because at the end of the day, yes, they are doing some more simulative elements in the game, but it is a game. On the flip side, arguably, not everything can be super fun for everyone, or else the person who loves to handle the fires would have everybody else kind of taking their job from them. Either way, we're going to have to wait till that mysterious day that 4.0 is delivered to see how this does work. I do still think that we can see 4.0 this year, specifically in the testing versions, and I think that they're still aiming for like a CitizenCon level timescale, but I just, who knows anymore? It could literally, I've been putting out videos about 4.0 for far too long at this point, so I don't know when it's coming. Hopefully we do see this soon in testing and we can get some hands-on and see how it fits into the game. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this, and probably a whole other list of features that are bugging you at this time. Anyways, thank you for coming to this feature watch. Hope you got something new from this, and I'll see you in the next one.